Hello, you're very welcome along to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, Royal Ascot Day 3 and Day 4 preview, all taking place before Day 2. If you can keep up with that, it's Daniel Hussey here, your host, standing in for Tom Stanley. I'm delighted to welcome a trio of experts here. Sam Turner, first of all, to my right. Tom, how are you? Or Sam Turner.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm quite got his hair.
Aaron Sammer.
It's a good start, isn't it? I've got his hair, his teeth, or his debonair charm, but hopefully I'm a better tipster than him.
Yeah, well, for sure. Charlie Poste, bottom right. Charlie, how are you doing?
Good, Dan, mate. Yeah, so I was just saying to the lads, I was lucky enough to go to Ascot yesterday. Had a really good day. Punting wasn't so good, so hoping for a bit more luck with the selections for Thursday and Friday.
Sounds like a plan to me. Don, how'd you get on day 1 in Ascot?
Good, but I was lucky enough to go to Roscommon yesterday, which is it's not easy. Paying attention to Roscommon and Ascot at the same time. Actually, it was a good evening at Roscommon. But no, moderate fare for me yesterday. And yeah, best put a line through that one and move on.
Yeah, well, listen, before we get cracking with Day 3 and 4, a lot of viewers will be watching this before Day 2, like I mentioned, and even better, podcast listeners will be listening to this post Ascot Day 2, Sam. So you were telling me you're very confident with your selections today, of course, aren't you?
Oh yeah, extremely confident. Thankfully, one of them's a non-runner. Well, I did a podcast on Monday with Scott Hazelton, who's American form expert, and he's working over on ITV and various other platforms this week, and he wouldn't hear a defeat for Love Reigns in the opener, so I'll just pass that on. And I quite like a 2-year-old later on of Michael O'Callaghan's called Maymar in the 5:35, the Windsor Castle. It's out to massive price now, so the market doesn't agree with me, but I thought he might run quite well, win and place. I think the stiff 5 will suit him, and I just have a little tickle on him at 34 or bigger.
Cool. Don, very quickly, anything standing out to you today?
Yeah, I backed Dark Shift in the Royal Hunt Cup. I backed him in the Victoria Cup, and he was just on the wrong side, over towards the far side. And I kind of tried to make a case that 7 furlongs was okay for him in the Victoria Cup, but actually he's probably better over a mile. He was very good in winning at Nottingham last time, and it's not ideal. He's got a £5 penalty to carry, but the handicapper actually raised him £7 for that, so he's £2 well in. And yeah, I just think Ascot straight track 1 mile. He's got plenty in his favour.
Brilliant. Charlie, very quickly, anything standing out Day 2? Or are you all focused on today or tomorrow?
Just in the Duke of Cambridge, Sibylla Spain, the French trained horse who can cope with the quicker ground. I just thought it was at the price. I thought he had a bit of value in a fairly open contest.
Brilliant. So there's a lovely little tricksy for you guys, or even more. So don't complain. We have Day 2 tips done. Now we're going to move on to Day 3, which is the 2:30 Thursday, the Norfolk Stakes. We'll take a look at the betting first of all on the Matchbook Betting Exchange. Prices are as follows. Wellbank is 2.98 currently. The Antarctic is 3.85. Brave Nations 9.4. Pillow Talk just before that at 8.8 and 10.0, and bigger prices the rest. We'll go to you first on this one, Sam. Where are you kind of looking for a bet on the opener on Thursday?
Well, the one horse that I've looked forward to all week really is Wallbank. Unfortunately, he's been well found in the market the last sort of 48 hours. When he wasn't declared for some earlier engagements, he seemed to just shorten up for this by proxy, really taken with him first time out. Is one of my few anti-post bets in the Coventry Noble Style. Great to see him not declared for Tuesday. Carry forward my anti-post fortune at this meeting. But then, Wallbank built on that with a win in a minor race at York, where he really needed to be woken up halfway through to go and assert. But he did assert. I mean, stretched 7 lengths clear of the runner-up that day. I think the return to a stiff track like Ascot, he's already got experience of Ascot. Dave Loughnane's done really well for these ammo racing, in these ammo racing silks this year, and I'm really hopeful that Wallbank will take a good deal of beating in the Norfolk.
Yeah, Don, for you in this race?
Yeah, I like the Antarctic. I think there's a lot to like about him, Daniel. He's a horse who just does enough. He's run twice now. He's won both times. And interesting, Sam is fancying Maymar later on in the Windsor Castle today. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes with regard to Antarctic's chance tomorrow. Wadow, who was third in the Nace race that the Antarctic won as well, he goes in the Windsor Forest, or in the Windsor Castle, so doesn't go in the Windsor Forest. He is like, it'll be interesting to see how those two go. Wadow has come out and won since Maymar has been kind of highly tried, and he could go well at a big price today. But the Antarctic is a brother to Batash, so 5 furlongs. He's all speed, and I just thought the last day at Nace he was only doing as much as he needed to do to contain Maymar, and I think a better race will see him in an even better light. So yeah, I think the Antarctic is interesting there.
Interesting. So that's the top 2 in the betting, Charlie, but you're looking at one at a bigger price here.
Yeah, back heel for Andrew Bolin. He was on the score sheet yesterday, of course. This son of Sioux Nation, who's flying with his first group of 2-year-olds. I thought he did well to win at Ascot on his debut. He was stuck wide, racing against horse with experience against him, and he half fell out the stalls as well, Dan. And like I say, by the line, he got readily on top. Form of the Ascot race maybe hasn't worked out incredibly well, but I can't see that back heel isn't going to improve plenty for that debut experience. And he's got a bit of pace drawn around him with redemption time and that. And again, the draw yesterday, lads, was a bit interesting. There were actually quite a few races where the lower draws were favoured, it seemed. So I don't think the draw in 3 is a major negative. And like I say, with that run under his belt at 9.5, 10.0, I thought back heel for a win and place option was sure to run a big race.
Yeah, before we move on, Don, obviously the draw is very important in these Ascot races. Anything to comment after the first day?
Yeah, no, it is interesting, as Charlie was saying there. I do tend to favour high, middle to high on Ascot, but you have to monitor it during the week. It could change again tomorrow. Definitely yesterday, the low numbers were at worst, not at a disadvantage. But then as they race on it more during the week, on the round track, it's the inside of the track, so therefore the far side of the straight track that gets more use than the near side. So it's a case of you can't be. I don't think you can be dogmatic about the draw at Ascot. Generally, I tend to look middle to high. What is it? Should be, as we've seen, I remember when Ascot winning the Sandringham from stall 1 there last year, the year before. Look, it's worth monitoring. But the going stick did suggest that far side was a wee bit better yesterday, middle to far side as opposed to middle to near side. So that's worth monitoring as well today.
Yeah, Sam, very quick on the draw there.
Yeah, not a lot to add really. Obviously, if we don't have any rainfall, that far side, because it's getting more use, might be a little bit more compacted. So a low draw in these big field races might not be a negative in any way, shape, or form. I thought it was good to see in the Coventry that those drawn 1 and 2 finished 1 and 3, or whichever way around you like it. But at least they were stuck on the wing, and that was a bit of a negative really for Bredesdale, who looks an aeroplane, admittedly a Royal Scotsman, but they still ran their races, which was encouraging. Sometimes when they're isolated there in 2-year-old races, it means they might as well not bother going. So yeah, I don't think there was a lot to gain really. I'm a bit like Don. I do like the higher draw. I seem to feel that they gravitate towards the grandstand a little bit, but that might just be just an optical illusion in some respects.
So we've Wallbang for Sam, the Antarctic for Don, and back heel, which is currently 10.0 win in place for Charlie in the first. We move on to 305, the King George 5th Stakes. We were actually, Matchbook had place markets of up to 7 places. And if you're watching our watch along, you can see the benefits of playing in those place markets. So we'll take a look at the betting first as we have it on Matchbook Betting Exchange. So Post Impressionist is the current 6.6 favorite. Secret State 7.2. Israel's 8.6. Newfoundland just ahead at 7.8. Mandovi 11.0, Yashin 13.5 and 16.5, and bigger prices the rest. We'll go to you on this one, Charlie. You're kind of like one I'm looking at the prices here, quite a big price.
Yeah, just is ultra competitive as they all are, but Don might give a bit more light on this, but Flying Dolphin of Johnny Murtagh's only made his debut in April this year, and the form of that worked out okay behind Boundless Ocean, and then he did the job nicely at Goran. He's drawn in 9. I think he's been ridden prominently, which again I'd never think is a bad thing in races over these sort of trips around the round track at Ascot. And Johnny Murtagh's horse is seeming in good form at the moment, and from 9 with under a prominent ride, which seemed to be a big advantage yesterday in these sort of contests. I just thought Flying Dolphin could run really well at a big price.
Yeah, Don, anything to add to that? And then who you kind of liking in the race? 16.0 currently at Flying Dolphin.
Yeah, I know he's an interesting horse, all right. He won well, as Charlie said the last day. The filly who finished second, Hazy Memory, Jerry Lyons' filly, she was due to run the maiden back at Goran there the other day, and she just got upset in the paddock and had to be taken out. But she was being sent off a short price on the back of her good run behind Flying Dolphin. For all that, he beat her pretty well in the end. And yeah, look, Johnny Murtagh, as we know, he Great Belief won the Sandringham last year. He doesn't bring them over to Royal Ascot unless they really have a chance. We'll come on to that later on as well for the next day. But no, I definitely wouldn't put anything off Flying Dolphin. But I think Israr is again, another really well-bred horse out of Tagruda by Muharar, but I thought he won the London Gold Cup well the last day. He was delivered down the near side by Jim Crowley, and he stayed on well, and that's often a good, you can get sucked into maybe rating races because of the history of the race as opposed to the quality of the race, but on what we know, that London Gold Cup, it is normally a race that does produce big performers who can kick on and go on to graded race or group race success afterwards. And Israr, it's just a really likely race horse, well bred. I think the step up and trip, definitely the way he raced the last day, plus his breeding suggests that the step up and trip to 1.5 miles suit him. And yeah, I think he's got a big chance. Worth mentioning as well, Mr. Big Stuff. He's a reserve in the race now. I'm not sure if we know yet when he's going to get in, or if he's going to get in. Maybe the lads will know more about the system of when we know that the reserves are going to be getting in or not. But if he does get in, I think he could go well at a big price. He ran in that London Gold Cup as well, and he didn't have any luck in running at all. Hollydall went for a gap twice, and he was shut off on both occasions. Now he has run since he ran at Epsom there at the weekend, but he got worked up beforehand. So you have to put a line through that run, but I think you can. And again, he's another horse who should step up for stepping up and trip to 1.5 miles. He doesn't have kind of the push button acceleration, and maybe that's a bit of a handicap. And Ascot's short straight, but he does seem to stay very well over 1.2 miles and stay as if he'll stay further. So if he gets in, he's a big price at the minute. If he does get in, he's worth having a look at. But I think as things stand, yeah, as far as the bet.
Yeah, Mr. Big Stuff 30.0, Sam. I'm not too sure on the rules. I guess it's tomorrow morning at some point we find out on that, whether they get in or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. I think it seems to vary for different codes with National Hunt and Flat. I'm not entirely certain when they can get in till and when the cut-off period is. But I'm with Don with Israel. The only thing I wouldn't want to see from him is a sluggish start that we saw at Newbury, because I think if you get behind here and get into traffic, we saw yesterday, it's very, very difficult to make up a lot of ground on good quality horses. So especially when the ground's quick, the speed seems to hold up a little bit more. But I think stretching out in trip for him, although he did plenty wrong at Newbury and was still good enough to win quite snugly, I thought it was a really good effort from him. Don's touched on the breeding there, going up to the 1.5 miles. I think all those are positives. I loved him as a model. I saw him in the paddock firsthand behind Educator, who's sadly injured and misses this week. Otherwise, he'd have been a very fair bet in whichever race he ran in. And I was just really taken with him. I thought he got a lovely reintroduction to racing that day. They built on that with the patience that was shown first time out. Jim Crowley gave him a lovely ride at Newbury, but I just hope he's a little bit more alert out the stalls. But he's my pick, yeah.
And so agreement there. Israel currently 8.6 with Sam and Don, and Charlie going for the bigger price, Flying Dolphin 16.0 currently. We'll move on to next.
Sorry, yes, Dan, just 1 point on that, and I'll probably tempting fate here, but there's been one horse in the last 10 years that's won from a single figure draw, and that was Hookham. When he won,
Wow.
Obviously he's a Group 1 winner, so that's what you've got to be almost to win from one of those low boxes.
Great stats there from Sam, and as when Don and Sam are in agreement, there's always you're advised to take note. That's all.
Lay button. Press the lay button.
I just said take note. I didn't say anything else. We'll move on. 3:40 Thursday, Ribblesdale Stakes. Let's take a look at the betting currently on the Match for Betting Exchange. And Sea Silk Road is the 2.98 favourite. Currently, they're less than 2-1. Magical Lagoon 4.2. Life of Dreams 5.7. History is 8.0, and it's bigger prices the rest. We'll go to you on this one, Don. Who do you like?
I quite like Magical Lagoon, Dan. I just think that she's ready for a big performance now. Like, she was very weak in the market before her run the last day in the Salsable Stakes, and she nearly beat Concert Hall. Concert Hall only just got up and beat her by a short head. Like, that race is working out ridiculously well. Concert Hall's enhanced the form since. Carja Gojo, who finished third, she's won 2 listed races since. Tranquil Lady, who was fourth, she went out and won the Blue Wind Stakes next time before running just okay in the Oaks, but she stepped forward the last day on her next run. And Magical Lagoon, that was her seasonal debut. That was over a mile and 2. She should improve again. Another filly should improve for stepping up in trip. She's a sister to Novelist, the King George winner, and to Raya Muni, who's a National Hunt horse, 2.5 mile hurdler. So I just think that there's plenty of improvement to come from her for stepping up in trip. Also for her seasonal debut, and the fact that the race has been working out so well since. There's plenty to like about her. And Cecil Road, look, you have to respect her. and she kept on well the last day. I'm not sure that she'll have the same benefit from stepping up in trip. I know she's from the family of Oriental Express, but I just thought the way that she won at Goodwood the last day, she showed a turn of foot and then just got to the line as opposed to seeing it out and running through the line and shaping as if she'd improved for going further. Whereas Magical Lagoon, I think she will improve for going further. And Jessica Harrington, she's got her horses now after having a kind of a quiet spell earlier in the season. They're now in really good form. And Cadillac ran a massive race yesterday. I know he wasn't racing in Jessica's name, but he was all but trained by her, by Jessica until he went to the sale on Monday. So, yeah, I think there are plenty of positives about Magical Lagoon.
Charlie, for you, you kind of like you do like history here at 8.0.
Yeah, I mean, again, I agree with Dom. I'm not convinced Sea Silk Road hit the line that strong at Goodwood to suggest that the additional up in trip is a benefit. Magical Lagoon, I can see. I mean, Life of Dreams got beat readily by Emily Upjohn at York, and I just came down with Aiden's filly history. I mean, again, on pedigree, being a Galileo, I don't see why the step up half a mile in trip should be a negative. And I just thought in an open contest, again, if Ryan give her a positive ride there around Ascot, that maybe I'd be a bit lukewarm on this one, Dan, if I'm honest. It was more a case of I wasn't really strong on anything in the race, and I just thought it might be one of these Aidan O'Brien horses that gets opt in trip, and being a Galileo just finds a bit more improvement there than being strongly fancying one in this race.
Yeah, and sometimes it is as simple as that, though. Sometimes you can overcomplicate it. Sea Silk Road, Sam, you're against at the prices currently.
Yeah, just at the prices. I mean, we get asked to put a layup, and I don't think she was in love with the ground last time. That's the one mitigating factor for a less than explosive performance, perhaps. But and you take your life in your hands, and you know what you're prepared for if you lay a Tom Marquand horse as well. Wouldn't be a choice that I would normally do, but every horse has its price, and like the lads have said, really, the front end of the market doesn't do a lot for me other than Magical Lagoon. I think the fact that she's fresh, the fact that Jessie's got such a good record at this meeting, her form is starting to work out quite nicely. I think she's the one at the front end of the market. Life of Dreams, Magical Lagoon, Sea Silk Road, she would be the one that I would fancy more than anything else. But a little like Charlie, I looked at history and think she's got perfectly good chance, and probably risk a few quid on her. And Mukadama, I think there's a bit of an upside to her as well. I think, she's really well suited by this track. I thought she ran well behind Nashua last time. I quite like Grand Dam in the Coronation. I think she could run a massive race. So I've got to then fancy Mukadama a little bit, stretching out in trip. That form at Newby's taking a boost as well, with the second winning. Nashua ran very well to a point in the Oak. So I don't think it's bad form really for a small field race like that, which has admittedly got a good pedigree as well. So I'd take a little bit of a chance on her at, what's she, 8.0, something a little bit bigger perhaps you might get close to the race.
Yeah, 8.0 currently, but like you said, those margins will tighten on the exchange, and there'll be plenty of liquidity in the win and place market. So Mukadama for Sam, Magical Lagoon for Donn, and History for Charlie in the 340. So we'll move on to the 420 on Thursday. It's the Ascot Gold Cup. Really looking forward to this, and quite surprised we have a bit of a team steam here, but I'll get to that in a second. Kyprios is the 2.9 favourite, Stradivarius 3.7, Drushan 7.6, Princess Zoe 8.8, and it's 16.5 and bigger the rest, although I would mention Burning Victory there, 21.0, obviously from Willie Mullins. I'll go to you on this one, Sam. I mentioned it's a team steam, so you'll be giving away the other selections, the other guys' selections when you give this pick. So maybe build it up a little bit, but you like the favourite here.
Yeah. Yes, there's not too many disclaimers here. Yeah, I'm with Kyprios. I've got to be honest, I think Stradivarius will run better than last year. And obviously he got a desperate passage through last year, which didn't help, and the race got away from him a little bit. I do think I couldn't see a lot in this race that I really wanted to be with, if I'm honest. And it's probably not a race that I'm going to have a bet in, other than perhaps throwing a few quid each way. Burning Victory, I think, will run quite well. I'm just going to watch it really as a purist and just enjoy for what it is. A younger horse taking on the old veteran, the old stager, the fabulous horse that Stradivarius has been, bidding for a fourth Gold Cup, and just look at it and enjoy that as a duel. I couldn't see anything really that I wanted to be with each way. Obviously, Scope's a non-runner, unfortunately. Trushan's unlikely to run. Thankfully, at least he's drifted a bit, so the Rule 4 won't be so punitive. And you've got the likes of Earl of Cotswolds in there, so there isn't a lot that I wanted to be backing at bigger prices. So, and I'm not that keen to back Kyprios at 7-4 either, given that he's yet to prove his stamina over the trip. But he looks for all the world as though he should stay. He's a stayer with pace, a bit like Stradivarius. He looks a quality animal in winning the 2 trials this year, and it's a long and trusted road that Aidan O'Brien's used for his Gold Cup horses previously. So everything looks in place for a massive run from him. Just wouldn't want him to get upset in the stalls like he did in the Queen's Vase. That's the only slight negative, and hopefully he hasn't got bad flashbacks from his previous trip to Ascot. But yeah, I think he should run really well.
Yeah, has been behaving betterly recently, but like you said, going back to Ascot could be a slight concern. Charlie, for you, Stradivarius, you're probably against him then at the prices given who you put up for selection.
Yeah, I think so, Dan. I mean, again, like Sam, I don't think it's a race that I'd be mad keen to get massively involved in. We're presuming Truchan isn't going to run, and Stradivarius. It's just whether you go with the young up and coming improver that needs to kind of confirm his stamina for this sort of distance, or whether you're going to stick with the old boy who's been there and done it all. And I just think it'd be fair to say that he's not the dominant force he probably once was, Stradivarius, and I just think Kyprios is a very exciting young stayer. Like you say, he's got that blend of stamina and a bit of pace, and I see no reason why he won't get this trip. And yeah, I've sided with the younger legs, and that's all it came down to, really. But like I say, from a betting perspective, it's probably a race that I wouldn't be getting hugely involved with. And it was just that, yeah, I'm just gone with Kyprios because I think he is probably the emerging one on this sort of scene, you know.
And Don, is the same for you in terms of a watching brief more than a betting brief, or do you have a strong opinion?
Yeah, no, it kind of is, Dan. It's mad because like Kyprios is half Stradivarius' age. When Stradivarius won his first Gold Cup, Kyprios was like 4 weeks old or something. And now they're taking each other on level terms, but that's sport for you. Look, it's fascinating, really, because and Sam touched on the 2 kind of quandaries about Kyprios. The fact that he got upset in the stalls the last time he was at Ascot, and as you say, Dan, he is a lot better now than he was then. So hopefully he doesn't remember. And his stamina, like he still does have to prove his stamina. He's a brother to Search for a Song and Falcon 8, so you'd think that he will stay, but he hasn't been beyond a mile and 6 yet. He hasn't been over 2 miles even yet. But I remember the time he won at Galway, when he won his maiden at Galway in September 2 years ago, he really grounded out. It was heavy ground over a mile for a juvenile and racecourse debut at Galway, and he grounded out. He really shaped like a stayer that day, consistent with his breeding. But look, and people say, listen to Dermot Weld about horses who get 2 miles or get even 2 miles and 2, but then the extra 2 furlongs of the Ascot Gold Cup, it can be a real grueler, and we know that Stradivarius gets it. I've been guilty of underrating Stradivarius many times to my costs. So, and he was good the last day at York. I think this is going to be his penultimate race, isn't it? He's going to go to Goodwood, and then that'll be it for him. So look, he's been some performer, and so for him if he could go and win it, he'd emulate Yates in winning 4. But no horse has ever won it 3 times, lost it, and then won it again. So he'd be creating a wee piece of history if he did. One horse I will mention is Princess Zoe. I mean, she was a soft ground horse for the whole world until this day last year, when she ran a massive race to finish second behind Subjectivist, and then she won the Sagaro Stakes last time as well on fast ground. So, it used to be that if the ground was coming up fast, you'd just say Princess Zoe, she won't win, and she might not even run. But she's proven her versatility recently, and Tony Mullins has done some job with her. She's a seriously progressive filly from the season before last, and yeah, she just might be interesting in there. But no, I think Kyprios is the right favourite.
Yeah, and some great content from Tony Mullins on Twitter and stuff when Princess Zoe runs. Sam, very briefly, just make that case for Burning Victory. You kind of piqued my ears. For those that want to watch the race, cheer on Stradivarius. But maybe I just
thought there was a little bit more upside in Burning Victory at the prices. I don't think we've probably seen everything we need to see from her over that trip, really. I just think that it's against a lot of horses like Takshan. Where's the card? Horses that really want soft ground, and like Princess Zoe has been the revelation, really. I mean, I couldn't see how she could ever win on fast ground given what she was doing. But I just thought, she's obviously by Nathaniel, who's the sire at the moment, and it's sort of 20-25 to 1 with, or 26.0, whatever she might be, 23.0 with Buick on as well. I just thought there was a fair bit of upside for her chance, and she's obviously comes here pretty fresh, but teed up by a couple of jumping runs, and I could see her running really well. I thought that second in the Says to Buzz was a very strong run.
Yeah, Willie Mullins to the crossbar yesterday would bring on the night as well. 4 places currently on Matchbook, and you can get around the 23.0 as well for Burning Victory. So we'll move on to the next race here, and that is the Britannia Stakes. The last race will be covered in full on the Thursday, and we'll take a look at the betting here. King of Time is your current 5.8 favorite. Who Put 50 in You, a popular selection on the podcast from Steve Jones over the last few weeks, 7.4. Tranquil Night 9.4. Saget 12.5. And Bigger Prices the rest. We will go to you, Don, on this one. Who do you like in the Britannia?
Yeah, look, I can see why King of Time and Who Put 15 are at top of the market. King of Time did well, I thought, to win at Newmarket the last time after being checked in his run. He did well to switch and stay on as well as he did. That was just his third run as well. He's up £7 for that, but he's progressive. Who Put 15 You? I just thought maybe he might have been a wee bit flattered the last day by winning at Haydock. I thought they went fast early on, and he kind of, like, he was under pressure at the top of the home straight, and he did stay on well. And look, they are going to go fast in the Britannia as well, so that's in his favour as well. But I thought Koi was interesting at a price. I thought he was very unlucky the last day at Chester. Everything went wrong. He stumbled on leaving. He had a good draw, but he stumbled on leaving the stalls, and then he was playing catch up. His good draw became a poor draw. Then he was keener than ideal, and I thought he did well to get as close as he did to Outgate in the end. And then Outgate's gone on and enhanced the form. He ran third in a good race at Haydock, and then he won at Chester last time. So I think, there's plenty of potential upside to Koi. He was pretty well fancied for that race as well. It was only his 4th run too. He got a £3 hike, but I think that's fair. And look, he's a horse that when they're doing my notebook after that run, wherever he go next, and they did mention the Britannia's a potential race for him next, and he did run well at the track over 7 furlongs in a maiden last time behind Saga, the Queen's horse. So I think he takes plenty of boxes, and he's a big price. I think he might be a wee bit underrated.
Yeah, 25.0. Would you, for this type of price, would you play, place, win? How would you go about it, Don? In terms
win and place, I'd say. Yeah, it must be about 17 places in the Britannia, are there?
Yeah, I was just looking there. I think we're five or six here on Matchbook.
5 or 6, yeah. It'll be 5 and he'll finish 6th. That's usually what happens.
That's always the way. 6 at the moment. My producer, Mihal DC. Nice to be this side of the camera and DC the other side. It's a nice change. Charlie Poste, I don't want to accuse you of stealing Steve Jones's horse and notes here at all, but take it away with your tip.
I think, definitely I've stole them. I was with Mighty Ulysses at Haydock when I did the preview a few weeks ago, and Who Put 50 in You sort of didn't read the script and came late and fast and beat him. Mighty Ulysses ran great yesterday in all fairness, and then, like you say, Outgate won readily at Chester. It's pretty unoriginal, but I think he's up 10 for that win, but I still don't think that's probably the ceiling of his ability. And he's drawn in 28, and a lot of the fancied ones, King of Time, a few of the Tranquil Night, they're all sort of drawn in and around him. So it's pretty, like I say, unoriginal and an obvious selection, but Who Put 50 in You just could be one of these that is a group horse in the making. And like I say, I'm pretty strongly fancying him for this race. Taking Steve's thunder, but if it wins, Steve can have it, but I'm jumping on the bandwagon.
No, never too late to jump on a bandwagon. Sam, our producer, says Matchbook will have 17 place markets up.
Okay, good. So I'll need all of them as well. Yeah, absolutely. I thought Who Put 15 You did plenty wrong at Haydock and still posted an incredible performance to win, really. So I think he, like the lads say, the £10 rise might not be enough to get to the bottom of him, but he's priced accordingly. So I'll probably look for something at a slightly bigger price. I like the proven Ascot ability of Atrium, to be honest. I don't know where this lad's ceiling is, but I think the performance last time out where he travelled very strongly, beat a subsequent winner in Paradies. I thought that was a really taking performance. He's obviously highly owned as well. They love a Royal Ascot runner. And Charlie Fellows on the straight track. One of the lads touched on a winner that he had in the Sandringham, and he looks to have good chances in the straight track races this year. For some reason, his horses seem to run really well at Ascot. So I think sort of 15.0, 17.0, something along those lines, win and place for me with Atrium. I was lucky enough to speak to Kieran Schumacher early on in the week, and he was quite bullish about this horse. He's quite a big, strong son of Holy Roman Emperor. It's taken a while just to get to grips with what's required, but he's going to be ridden chilly in this race. He's going to need a bit of luck coming through, but if he's got pace in and around him to aim at, I think he'll be finishing off pretty strongly. So hopefully a big run from Atrium.
Atrium 15.0 for Sam. Koi 25.0 for Don, and Who Put 50 in You, the podcast favorite, with Charlie 7.4 currently. Sam, we'll stick with you because obviously we just picked the 5 races, but ITV obviously have all 7, I think, to the top 6, and then the 7th goes on ITV4 like yesterday. You have a couple of other Thursday bets.
Yeah, other than missing the 11 to 8, there was an offer for Reach for the Moon. I mean, that looks like an After You Claude, doesn't it? That in the Hampton Court Stakes, everybody, we're not going to run there. We'll let the Queen have one. So that 8 to 13 or 166 or whatever it might be that's on offer might still be fairly good value there, especially with them talking about the Coral Eclipse afterwards. Just the last race, the Buckingham Palace. I like the Victoria Cup winner, Vaffatino. And the other horse that I quite like, who's a regular in these races, is Chief of Chiefs, who just got absolutely no run last time in the Victoria Cup, and literally his rider finished just hard on the heels of everything mid-pack and never even asked for an effort. So those two win and place against the field would probably be my idea of having a punt. I do like those big 7 furlong handicaps because they're a little bit of a specialist distance, and you often get sort of a Godolphin horse or, wherever, the high profile horse that are usually short price favourites in those races. So they sometimes make the market a bit more.
Vertino is 13.0 and Chief of Chiefs is 16.0. So 2 big prices there as well to the Dutch. Charlie Poste, you being a man in form on the lays. So I will go to you for your best Thursday lay and price as well. That you're going to lay out.
Yeah, I mean, I just flagged up Rollback, which again, it makes me slightly nervous that Sam is very strong on him. But, just in a race of horses with stacks of untapped potential, I just thought if he ended up, did I say 2.75? Dan, I can't remember what I put down. Yeah, so if he shortened up a bit more to 2.75 or lower, I'd just be keen to take him on with so much running for you in the field against him. As in, I just think that's crazy short in a race of this nature with a stack of horses with untapped potential in against him, and it would be very much price related though. If he shortened up a bit more than what he is right now, I'd be willing to take him on at that sort of price.
Thoughts on that, Sam?
Not having it. I hope he's going to eat his words. About 25 to 3.
If it was 2.75, you'd still be a backer at that price? Just
Oh no. Every horse has its price, doesn't it? He is plenty tight enough. And I think we started the segment by saying his price had collapsed. So I can certainly see where Charlie's coming from. Sea Silk Road for me in the Ribblesdale, just a price perspective. I don't think she's got that much in hand. I think she's probably 2 to 1 or 3.0, a bit shorter than that. I wouldn't want to go any bigger than that. I think that would be my ceiling for her. But she got 2 1s next to her name. She's Haggis Markan. She's always going to be strongly fancied. So hopefully mine, Charlie's or Don's can do her. Yeah.
Don, for you, best Thursday bets then?
Yeah, it's Magical Lagoon for the exact same reason as Sam outlined. Well, that's part of it, and I'm just not a massive fan of laying because you're backing the other 5 horses against. So I prefer have twice the bet on Magical Lagoon to win, than have half the bet on Magical Lagoon to win and half the bet on Silk Road not to win. If you know what I mean, you bet all in on Magical Lagoon. Yeah, I think Magical Lagoon is overpriced, and part of that is because Silk Road is underpriced. But no, I think Magical Lagoon. Yeah, I think she's the best bet tomorrow.
Sam?
I'll have a bit of a punt with Atrium in the Britannia. There's half a dozen horses, including Saga, that made the shortlist there. But in fact, he's 2 from 2 at Ascot and looks nicely drawn with some pace. Should be finishing off. I think he's a fair win and place bet.
Yeah, I think Tom Stanley had a 29.0 beaten ahead there yesterday. So his best bet. So there you go. Painful. Charlie. Yeah, Charlie, for you, you've switched your best Thursday best bet. I understand now.
I think I chucked up Who Put 50 on You. Yeah. That was my best bet for the day. Yeah. Like I said, I'm very strong on him in the Britannia.
Cool. They take each other guys on again. So brilliant. Before we move on to Ascot Friday, we'll just tell you very quickly about our ongoing sign-up offer, and you can get this in time for Royal Ascot as well. So it's a £30 welcome offer. Money back as a free bet if your first bet loses. That's money back as a free bet if your first bet loses. All you have to do is enter that bonus code INSIGHTS30. That's INSIGHTS30. And if you full terms and conditions are on insights.matchbook.com. And why not have it on one of the guys' best Thursday bets, best Friday bets, or even a multiple as well. So yeah, that is a £30 welcome offer. Money back as a free bet if your first bet loses. On we go to Ascot Friday, and I'll get the prices up here in a second. It's the 2:30 here, and currently Meditate is the 3.2 favour. Ma is 4.04. Queen Ollie is 9.43. Fully Wet's 14.7. and bigger prices the rest. Decks are coming in, guys, so there's still early enough prices. But Don, who do you fancy in this race?
Yeah, I'm not massively strong on this, Daniel. Likely race fillies have won once or won twice and progressing, but I can see why Meditate's favourite. I think she's the right favourite. I thought she did plenty right the last day in a Group 3 race at Naas when Matilda Picot set a fast pace. She probably raced a bit too keenly in front of Matilda Picot, but Meditate travelled lovely for Wayne Lord off it and finished off her race well. Saw it out strongly. 6 furlongs at Naas. It's a stiff 6 furlongs at Ascot similarly. So that's a positive for her going into it. Look, it's down to by how much she or her rivals progress. But that was her second run. It built on a good run at the Curragh over 5 furlongs. She looked like she was better over 6, but I'm sure she improved for the experience of her run. And the Aidan O'Brien horses too. So yeah, I think it's not a betting race for me, Daniel, but I think I can see her running a big race and going well.
Yeah, no bet for you, Charlie. So Sam, Fully Wet is currently 14.7. You quite like?
Yeah, I quite like when sort of John Gosden and Thady Gosden, of course, they plunge a once raced filly into races of this nature. I think they've got a fairly good record when they've done that. She's nicely drawn towards 17, which I think for an inexperienced filly to be close to a rail is quite good. I thought she went with a good bit in hand at Goodwood. I was quite taken with her. She shines a greenness early on, but she soon got to grips with what was required. She was quite professional through the race, and it's not an easy place to start, Goodwood. So I thought the fact that she was a double figure price here was very fair, really. I couldn't quite understand why she was quite as big as she was, given connections, and she's a Kodiak filly, so she's ready to rock and roll as a young juvenile. So she would be the pick in an open race, admittedly. Nothing strong, about a 5 or 6 out of 10, I think.
Yeah, cool. Winning place for Sam on Fully Wet and Meditate for Don. No bet for Charlie. We'll move on to Commonwealth Cup. And while the screen loads in front of me, it's loaded brilliantly. Perfect Power is the current 5.5 favourite along with El Caballo. That's 5.5. Eraz is 8.0. Twilight Jet is 9.0. Go Bears Go is 10.0. Slipstream 12.0. And bigger prices the rest. Charlie, for you, Commonwealth Cup, who do you like?
Go Bears Go for me, Dan. And they're just purely price related more than anything. I just wondered with Perfect Power whether he'd be adapt quick enough drop back down in trip after maybe he didn't stay in the Guineas, but he's going to have to adjust quickly. And then El Caballo obviously beat Go Bears Go at Haydock, but I think it'd be fair to say Go Bears Go was fairly unlucky, stumbled badly out of the stalls and sort of rallied late. And just at the prices, as in I don't know what you're getting up on the screen there, but I thought there was sort of 3.5, if not 4 points difference between the two of them. And for that reason and that reason alone, I was coming down with Go Bears Go. I think if he'd have won that race at Haydock, he'd be half the price, if not more in this, and he'd probably be a strong favourite. And so price related, I thought Go Bears Go represented excellent value really at the moment in this race.
Yeah, 11.0. I can see you nodding there, Sam.
Yeah, I think he's a very fair price, to be honest. I was just holding back really on a bet just to check the draw, but he seems to be perfectly fine with that. Obviously, it's a rematch from last year's Norfolk Stakes. I was with Go Bears Go 12 months ago, and unfortunately, he was narrowly denied by Perfect Power, who has then gone on to prove what a handsome juvenile he was, and has carried that forward this year a little bit. He wasn't disgraced in the Guineas by any stretch of the imagination. I think coming back to this trip, I'd have to have a saver on him because it's the same form line, but I'm very sweet on Go Bears Go. As for all the reasons Charlie outlined there at Haydock, it just didn't work out for him. He was stuck nearest the rail as well. I'm not sure that was the place to be. Pace was 4 or 5 horse widths across from him. And I didn't think he got knocked about either. I thought he was looked after really with a potential to come here. Obviously, this looks his major target. And that win in the Forerunner race early on was a really, really good speed figure as well, which definitely up there with anything that any other horse has achieved in this race. So I think the 11.0 for him is a very fair price, and I'll have a little saver on Perfect Power as well, just in case he nuts him again.
And very briefly for listeners, how would you go about with the saver? Is that purely to get your money back, or how?
Yeah, probably just a win bet, but have maybe instead of backing Go Bears Go win and place, just back the 2 to win, and maybe even back them for the same money, or have 70% Go Bears Go and 30% on the main danger, really. Very
interesting. Don, for you?
Yeah, I think this is a fascinating race, and I take all the lads' points on Go Bears Go. He wasn't lucky the last day. I think he just put a line through that run for him. But I like Eras. I think there's plenty to like about him. He was beaten last time by Tiger Flow in the Carnarvon Stakes, but I thought he was unlucky not to win. He was on the near side. He got going a little bit late and finished off his race strongest of all. Just failed to catch Tiger Flow, and he's got whatever 3 lengths or more than 3 lengths to find with Go Bears Go, and they're running in the Pavilion Stakes at Ascot over this course and distance. But it was his first run back. He was kind of, I don't think Jim Crowley was hard on him once his winning chance had gone, and he just kind of, he allowed him come home just underhand and heels right. I think he improved from that to Newbury the last day. I think he can improve again. He's won his maiden over the course and distance as well, so he's got Ascot form, and I just think he's a coming horse. Whereas Go Bears Go is top class, but just think maybe he may have plateaued a little bit, whereas Eras, there's more in him. I think he can improve again. Worth mentioning Wings of War as well. I thought he ran well at Haydock the last time in the Sandy Lane Stakes. He finished off his race well, so he just doesn't have any Ascot form. So he was well beaten in that Go Bears Go race when Eras was third. He was fourth, so he's going to have to prove that he can operate at Ascot. For all that, I think he'd improve from that. And Twilight Jet as well, Michael O'Callaghan's. He's consistently an underrated horse. He won the Cornwallis Stakes last year. I know he had plenty of running last year as a juvenile, and maybe that's why he's an underrated horse. But he was a big price for the Group 3 race at Naas earlier this month. Earlier this season when he won well the Lacken Stakes, and I think he can come forward. Michael O'Callaghan seems to be quite positive about him, and yeah, you can see him progressing from that. But I just think Eras does. I know he's a slightly shorter price than Twilight Jet, but I think there's more in him, and with his course form, his winning course form, and the fact that he ran such a good race the last day, and that he's got plenty of potential to improve from that. Yeah, I think it's Eras for me.
Brilliant. Eras for Don, Go Bears Go for Sam, Sabre and Perfect Power, and Go Bears Go for Charlie. Our producer, DC, said Calamoso at 50s, first time blinkers, 4th in Norfolk last year, and he says back it up to 17 places if you can get it, wherever you get it. You'll only get 6 or 7 on Matchbook, unfortunately, but if you are, there's a few at bigger prices there that we've tipped up there. We'll move on to 340 on Friday, which is the Duke of Edinburgh Stakes. Take a look at the betting first of all. Again, early prices here, so a lot of this will change, but Just Fine is the current 5.0 favorite, Trawlerman 7.0, Contact 9.5, Mansure 11.0, Candlefire 12.0, and 15.0 on bigger prices to left the rest. And again, it's a big field here, Charlie. Who do you like at the prices?
I just came down with, starting off, this is ultra competitive again. But I came down with same hand of George Baker's. He's won his last 2 the first 2 starts this season. He's won them well. I thought he was very good at Newmarket on his last start. And Sophie Stevens and Valley Forge have come out of that race and both won since. I think the £5 rise was fair enough. I think he could have been hit a lot harder, and just looking at it as well, I just wonder if George Baker's a perfectly capable trainer, but if he was trained by someone a little bit more fashionable, I could just see him being a good bit shorter than the price he is here. And again, the draw 9, I think, is okay. Sam might have more stats on where the winners have come over the past 10 years in these sort of races, but I think the draw is all right. And yeah, like I say, I just thought he was overpriced, maybe more because of connections than anything else. And I think again at Newmarket, he beat Sarumi of Richard Hannons, and again I could see him running okay at a big price too. So I had 2 of them in this race with that form line from Newmarket.
Sam, any good stats for us on the spot?
Well, there hasn't been a single figure winner out of the in this race in the last 10 years. 10's been the lowest. There have been plenty of sort of 10s, and 12 has been a popular gate as well, which Gold Maze is coming out of. I wouldn't be so concerned about that, I don't think, with Kem Hahn. I think he's an improving horse going the right way, and I think for all the reasons that Charlie's outlined, I think he is a bit overpriced because he's got G Baker next to him rather than Sir Michael Stout. The one I quite like here is Contact, who's only lost once this year. He's drawn wide as well, which I think is a bonus over 1.5 miles for the reasons I've outlined. He's only been beaten once this year, and that was by the winner, Get Shirty, that won the handicap yesterday, or the day 1. So I think that's pretty tidy form. He's won his next 2. I thought he had a bit in hand when he won at Haydock last time. He's already been around the track as well, albeit on soft ground last year. So I think the ground suits him better. He gets on very well with Ben Curtis. Just think he's a big Grace on a Guitar fan who's taken a while to come to himself. So I think he's a very interesting runner at a double figure price. And the other one that I quite liked, and they've rushed to get him handicapped, is Ajero, the old jumper, who's drawn 10. So just about makes the cut. I think he'd be 26.0, might even be 31, 34, something along those lines. But I thought he shaped well on a couple of occasions over a mile and a quarter. Obviously, he's going to really appreciate a step up in trip. And I was surprised he wasn't in the Copper Horse, actually, but he's in this. And, you know, I'll have to throw a couple of quid each way at him at a big price.
Yeah,
how many flat runners has Kim Bailey had?
Not many. He ain't tried many, though, has he? I suppose it's a pretty small sample size. But David Egan is quite an eye-catching booking as well. I just thought last time Majero ran sort of really well when he had no right to almost at Chepstow, and that Sandown run behind Francesco Clemente, who's quite a well-regarded horse of the Gosdens. I thought that was a pretty good effort as well. I thought he shaped pretty well in 3 starts.
Charlie, I don't have any stats to back this up, but it seems to be more jumps trainers getting into the flat.
Yeah, exactly. They all need the money.
Yeah, there you go. Don, for you, who do you like in this race?
Sure, drawn 1.
Cheers.
Yeah, it's not ideal, this draw. I like it's kind of I don't think that, like, people are generally cottoning on to the fact that you need a high draw over a mile and a half at Ascot, less over a mile and a quarter, but over a mile and a half, maybe it's the configuration of the track. They tend to go fast early, and then the high drawn horses can just relax and wend the way over. But Mashure's draw is not good, but I just think he's a really progressive horse. He was at Sir Michael Stat last year. He's joined Johnny Murphy this year. He shaped well in his debut at Cork, and then went to the Curragh last time, and he was really impressive in winning a good handicap over 10 furlongs. He beat his stable companion Safecracker into second, and Safecracker didn't run badly, finished second in the Cork Derby. Next time, the 4th horse, Daylight Come of Jim Bolgers, he went and won a competitive race at Fairyhouse next time. So the form of the race is working out well. And Mashure, he won really impressively, hit the front on the far side against the inside rail, and he stayed on really strongly, shaping as if he'd be even better over a mile and a half. And said before, Johnny Murtha bringing a horse over to Ascot, that's always something that you need to have a look at. His draw is not ideal in stall 1, but Ben Cohen is on board. Ben Cohen is a very, very good rider, and I'm sure he'll do what he can to negate the impact of a negative draw. But I just think, however he fares on Friday, Mashure, I think he's a coming horse. He's £12 higher than he was at the Curragh last time, but I think he could even progress to be better than a handicapper. And yeah, I just think he's interesting in there.
And sometimes when the draw, like, people can overreact to the draw to a point, Don. I guess
yeah,
it's tough to read, obviously.
It is, but I don't think the market fully has the inside draw at Ascot yet over a mile and a half. Like, you see outside draw over, and you think, round track outside draw, it's a negative. But like, generally, people are getting used to the fact that it's a positive to have an outside draw over a mile and a half at Ascot. But you know, maybe the market, I don't think it's fully got it yet.
Interesting there. Potential angles there too. On we go to the 4:20 at Ascot on Friday, and Inspirel is the current 3.0 favourite. Catches 6.0, Discoveries 9.0, Prosperous Voyage 9.0 as well, and big 10.0 and bigger prices the rest. Don, we'll stick with you on this one. Who do you like on the 4:20?
Yeah, it's a pity Homeless Songs isn't running. It just wasn't declared this morning. I'm presuming because of the ground. Chris Hayes always said he wouldn't like to ride her in very fast ground, and obviously that's what we have. So Dermot, well, like, he missed the Newmarket Guineas with her, missed the French Guineas, won the Irish Guineas so impressively, and obviously he's just doing what's right for the fillies. So absolutely understandable. But
it's proper good to firm now.
Yeah, you see, that's it. And I'm sure he was waiting to see what the weather would do, but anyway, she doesn't run, so she's just dying to see her wherever she goes next, even against the Colts. I think Discoveries is interesting. Another Irish horse, surprisingly. Look, her breeding is there for all to see. She's both her sisters, Alpha Centauri and Alpine Star, won this race, and I just thought that the last day she wasn't seen to best effect at Newmarket. And look, she is a filly. Like, she was pretty well beaten on her debut last season before going on and beating Tuesday to win her maiden. And then she went on and she was really impressive in winning the Moidler Stud Stakes when she beat Agartha, who was a real standard setter last season. She had Concert Hall behind her that day. She had Homeless Songs behind her that day. She had Cardiac Joe behind her. So that was a really strong Moidler Stud Stakes. And it's that's been proven this season when they've moved on to the 3-year-old season. Jessica Arrington's horses are in really good form now. The fact that she's won this race with Alpha Centauri and Alpine Star before, obviously Sisters of Discoveries, big positives. And I just think on the back of her Guineas defeat, she might be underrated in the market on the back of that. But I think she can come forward a fair bit from that run, from her first run to her second.
Yeah, Charlie, for you don't often tip favourites now, either today or on the podcast in general. So I think viewers should take note here.
I don't know about that. That's it. I mean, look, Inspiral beat Cachet and Prosperous Voyage in the Fillies Mile. She's a Frankel. There's no real reason to suggest that she shouldn't train on and come forward. Obviously, she frustratingly missed the Guineas, but maybe that won't turn out to be a bad thing. And I can hear Don's argument with Jessie Harrington's, but maybe she is the one that's been slightly overlooked because of her disappointment run in the Guineas. But I think Inspiral will beat Cachet and Prosperous Voyage, and I can't believe John and Thady Gosden are coming here if they think she's undercooked. And like I say, maybe it'll turn out to be a bonus that she missed these early season classics, and hopefully she can go on and have a very prosperous midsummer and autumn. And she's the filly with all the credentials to be a superstar. And like I say, being by Frankel, there's no reason why she shouldn't progress into a 3-year-old year and maybe up in trip as well. So yeah, Inspiral for me, I just think 3.0 actually, if you look at her juvenile form, might actually represent a bit of value, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Sam, you're looking at a couple out of big prices here to Dutch.
I'll take on board everything that the lads say, really, because I've been up and down this race a number of times in the last 48 hours, really, trying to find an angle in. And I could see a case for almost anything, whether it be Cachet from the front, Discoveries, given her pedigree and the pedigree of a trainer in this race. Inspiral, obviously, the class act in the race. Mangosteen, the one box isn't particularly appealing for me, but obviously she's got that French Guineas form. The American horse, Pizza Bianca. I could even see Sandringham running a big race back at a place where she ran well last year, and I thought she saw the mile out well enough in the Guineas. So I could see, and even Spenderella. I mean, Scott Hazelton, who I spoke to on Monday, was very, very effusive in his praise for that filly, and thought that she'd run really well. So it looks a really tricky race for me. So that put me off on Inspiral at 9-4. I think probably she's a bit on the tight side in a race full of unexposed and progressive fillies, and I think trouble in running could be an issue here around that bend as well. Often is in this race. So I'll take a small chance with Prosperous Voyage even. Rob Hornby's been pretty unlucky in the Classic so far this year. Obviously, he got nutted on this filly. She was making ground hand over fist, couldn't quite get to Cachet at Newmarket. Westover was obviously unfortunate in the Derby a couple of weeks ago. So I wonder whether he might get a little bit of Group 1 compensation in this race with her. I think she deserves to get ahead in front in a race of this nature, and she's closely matched with Inspiral. So if Inspiral's not quite 100%, then hopefully she could take advantage. And the other Gosden horse, Grand Dame, I was quite taken with her at York. I just thought it was inexperienced. It got a beat that day. I'll probably back her at 17.0. Give me a good excuse to moan at Jamie Spencer on a hold-up ride on the round track at Ascot, so I can have a good whinge and throw my pen up the screen when he's screaming for room and can't get a run 2 out.
It's exciting to watch, though, Sam, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, you know what you're getting, so you've just got to get on with it, haven't you? They don't change the name, do they, halfway through the race of who's riding it? So you know what you're buying into.
Yeah, spot on. We'll move on to the final race we're covering in full, the Sandringham Stakes. I'm just going to get prices up on screen in a sec, so I'll let you know what price it is when you give your selection. Charlie, for you, who do you like in the Sandringham?
Zambak in this race for me. Roger Varian's filly, she ran really well at Goodwood when she's third to Miss Fitzherbert and Bashikarova, who subsequently won well at Epsom, Bashikarova. And then she got the job done with a minimum of fuss at Haydock over 7. I think the step up back up to a mile should suit, and she's got Espresso, Lullaby, and Sigam. What's it? Hang on, let me get there. Sigamia around her, so there's pace around her as well, and yeah, she's very much lightly raced and progressing through. And like I say, I think a repeat of that sort of listed form will mean that she won't be far away in this race, Dan.
Yeah, Don, you agree?
I do, yeah. For all that Charlie just said, yeah. Like I thought her run at Goodwood was a really nice run. She was back in the field a bit, and she stayed on down the near side. Miss Fitzherbert, I know she disappointed at Epsom in the Princess Elizabeth, but I think she was in season that day, and Bashkirova won the Princess Elizabeth, so the form was working out well, and she was not very nice performance. She was long odds on last time at Haydock, but she did it nicely over 7 furlongs. She's probably better over a mile, which she sees out well. And yeah, for all the other reasons that Charlie mentioned, I think she's just a progressive filly who can run it, a stiff mile should suit her well.
10.0 currently the price there, could get bigger, and as we mentioned before, we're going to have place markets up to 7 here in this race, I think. So and again, that matchbook watch along we did with Steve Jones was really good in terms of utilizing those place markets. As Sam said, you could need every single one of those places here. 7, 8, 9. Sam, fresh hope for you here.
Yeah, just a tried and trusted system, really. Haley, Turner and Charlie Fellows in this race. And they've run it 2 of the last 3 starts, 2 of the last 3 running. Thanks B from stall 4. As Don alluded to earlier, Onassis from stall 1. They've got fresh hope, who I hope is well named here from stall 5. So I had a look at the entries, the 5-day decks, to see whether Charlie's running anything. This was his sole entry. She gets in here off 82. Haley on board again, so I thought sort of 13.0, 15.0, something along those lines. I liked her performance at Doncaster, and she chased home a horse that ran in the Oaks in Rogue Millennium the time before at Wetherby, a nice run. So I think she's been prepped for this race, so she'll get the vote for me.
I think Haley Turner gave her a mention on ITV there yesterday as well. So
good.
Interesting. Yeah, all good, ticking a lot of boxes. Any other Friday bets? Charlie, we'll move on to you for this firstly.
Yeah, he was a lay for me actually on one of the shows before. Lysander in the King Edward VII. But I just thought the track here at Ascot might suit him better, and he ran perfectly well behind Lionel Goodwood. It wasn't like he was beat far. He seems to be progressing with racing, and I think the mile and a half round Ascot should suit him well. And again, just at the prices, I thought he against Ottoman Fleet changing the guard, I thought he offered a bit of value in that race. For William Haggis and Tom Marquand, who can do little wrong. And for that reason and that reason alone, changing the guard was a lay for me as well on Friday. Just if the price gets a bit shorter than what it is now, I just thought he had a hard enough race in the Derby, and backing up quickly in this contest, he was worth taking on with a couple of unexposed horses in Ottoman Fleet and Lysander in against him.
Before we get to your lay, Sam, when you have a section on the document saying any other Friday bets, and Donn McClean mentions a horse that might run on the Saturday, I think viewers and listeners should take note of.
Yeah, she might not run now. Stargaz Al Mal. If the ground is too quick, she might not run. But Henry de Ramhead's filly, I just think that she's been underrated a little bit. Like her run in the Irish Guineas was very, very good. She was only 4th in the end, but she wasn't helped by Homeless Songs when she came past her. She was a bit tight for room, and I think but for that, she might have challenged Tuesday for 2nd place. And Tuesday obviously went and won the Oaks, the 6th filly, William Haggis filly, Purple Pay. She went and won a Group 2 race in France. So that Irish Guineas is working out really well already. And she travelled so well through a race. I think the drop back down to 7 furlongs could even be a positive for her. Like she does get a mile, but dropping back down in trip, I think that'll suit her. She was in the Coronation Stakes. She was only taken out of the Coronation Stakes this morning, so at declaration stage. So they have the option of going on to the Jersey Stakes, which I think would be very interesting if she went and took up that option. Yeah. So for viewers against Stargirls, I'm potentially in New Jersey on Saturday. Yep. Interesting. Your lay, Sam. You're a great sport with the lays here. So another lay here for Friday. Best Friday lay. Yeah, just in the Albany mediate. She hasn't really done anything particularly astonishing on the clock yet. So round about 1.8. If we can get her in any shorter than that, great. Just a place lay really on mediate in the 2:30. Interesting. Best Friday bets. Who will I start with here? We'll go to you, Charlie Poste. Your best Friday bet for Ascot.
In Spiral, like I say, been looking forward to seeing her back out on track and in a trappy Coronation Stakes. I'd take her to prove her class and like I say, get her season well and truly kicking. And she could just prove to be a class act in this field. And much like I respect completely the lads saying it is a trappy contest, she just could be a cut above the rest of these.
Don, briefly.
Yeah, Araz in the Commonwealth Cup for all the reasons outlined earlier. Progressive horse, he could have won at Newbury the last day if the ball had hand bounced a bit better for him. He's got winning form over the course and distance as well. And yeah, plenty to like about him.
Sam?
Yeah, best bet for me on Friday is in the Commonwealth Cup as well. It's Go Bears Go, who events didn't pan out for him at Haydock last time. I think he's better than the bare value of that form and goes back to one of his favourite venues.
Brilliant, guys. We're done. Thanks a million for watching. Just going to be under the hour there. Are you watching Tom Stanley? And so, yeah, my thanks to Sam Turner, Charlie Poste, Donn McClean. stay on tune to Matchbook's Twitter. We're doing a Twitter space to cover Saturday selections. You've obviously got a bonus one from Donn there. But for now, from the Matchbook team, enjoy the Royal Ascot week. Take care, and we'll chat to you later on.